Lumpur, Malaysia. We're in the middle of a tropical weather right now here, and I just want to introduce you to this Wireless Income TV, where we're bringing very special guests. We're bringing people who have achieved some amazing stuff, done incredible things, and today with me I've got somebody that is a contributor to Chicken Soup for network marketers with Mark Victor Hansen. And Jack Canfield shared, and this person shared stage together with Tony Robbins, Tiha Vekon, Dr. Pulo, many others. He launched over 30 products. He's co-founder of Blackjack.com, founder of Bingo.com. Over 30 products and services combined together, including launching career of one of the very sexy lady called Pamela Anderson. Have I missed anything, Darren?
No, that pretty much covers it. That pretty much covers it.
That's Darren, a little MLM superhero here with us. And I just want to ask you, Darren, a couple of questions. Thank you for the time, and thank you for the for taking this time in the morning early. Yes.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you from the marketing perspective, because you clearly stand out here, just following people and seeing how people market. You have passion, and you bring to the industry this amazing, incredible twist on marketing. Where does it come from? How did the journey of marketing started for yourself?
You know, back when I was growing up, I was actually set out on a path to become an architect. You know, my passion was in drafting and you know, the three-dimensional world of, you know, creation. And right when I was coming into graduating, the architectural firms, the largest architectural firms, were actually going under. It was in a time of a major recession. So, you know, I talked about it, and I talked about it with my dad, and he says, you know, I mean, this is really a rough time right now. My dad was a commercial realtor, very, very successful, and he said, you know, you may want to consider going down, you know, some other avenues, right? And I really didn't know which direction I was going to go, and I ended up getting into graphics and visual design, and that really was a very similar type of field, because it was also a three-dimensional world, you know, working with graphics and logos and, you know, campaigns and creative, and that's truly my passion. My passion is in creativity. You know, guerrilla marketing is really what I love. And from there, I got a campaign going right now, and my phone's just going off like crazy.
The money coming in, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Exactly. Let me just turn it off here. So basically, you know, parallel to that, in my early 20s, I got into the personal development industry. And Tony Robbins was really the person that completely transformed my reality. But there was always something that was missing, and I couldn't really figure it out. You know, you get on that path of personal growth, and it's like this rabbit hole, you know, the blue pill or the red pill, and once you take it, whoa, you're going down this journey. And lo and behold, along comes Dr. Lee Poulos with the power of the subconscious mind. And when I started really diving into that really changed my reality, because Dr. Poulos taught me some really amazing things about super learning, about the subconscious mind, subconscious muscle testing, on how you can ask yourself questions and then your subconscious mind can't lie. So it will give you the answer. You know, even what you're going to get on an exam based upon what the subconscious knows, the studying percentage that you have, you will get the answer of what you're going to get on an exam before you even write the exam. So I was with Dr. Poulos for 3 years, and then I got into working with Dr. Dov Baron in quantum physics. And that's when it just went, whoa, right, you know, full circle from personal power, subconscious mind, quantum physics. It's like, okay, now we got something here. Quantum physics was the missing link to all of it. And, you know, so but between doing marketing and rolling out companies, and I found my niche rolling out when I realized I could take my creativity and combine that with something that was based upon supply and demand, which is a public company. That's when the gateway opened for me. That's when I made millions and millions and millions of dollars in my reality, was because I got it. You know what I mean? If you can have a campaign running and so many people want what you have and so little people want to sell what you have, well, up goes the price of the stock, right? And once I really got that and understood that, that's when my creativity really came out, really, you know, took me to another level.
That's incredible. And if we can disassemble that a little bit into smaller pieces, and if we can chunk it down a bit, I would like to start from this early beginning when you mentioned that the first inspiration came from Tony Robbins. I believe you were like 20 or 22, right?
Yeah.
That time. What did Tony Robbins do for you? Like, what were your biggest takeaways? Something that is like, wow, twisted you, and you kind of took it and kind of ran with it. What did he do for you?
It's really interesting, and the we don't realize in the course of our journey how we are creating our realities. You know, when we're young and we're just these little guppies in the water and we're looking around, and you know, we don't really realize that we are creating our realities. We're in the three-dimensional world, and we're like the majority of people caught in victimhood. So the world is doing stuff to us. You know, we're a victim of circumstance. You know, and what Tony did for me, the biggest breakthrough that I got, and keep in mind, I used to, instead of watching television, I used to watch late night infomercials because they were the most positive thing on TV. So it didn't matter if it was a vacuum cleaner, a mop thing, you know, a steamer.
You loved marketing. You were studying anything that had anything to do with how to sell and how to kind of connect.
You know, it was more than that. It was more than that. It was because the energy. Yeah. If you watch infomercials, any infomercial, the energy is so uplifting and so positive that I literally became addicted to infomercials because of the energy. I love it. I just love infomercials. So, you know, I'm surfing. I would go from one infomercial channel to the next, you know, just to tap into the energy, and boom, oh, this one's really good. And I would just sit there sometimes I would watch the same one 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, but it was just the energy. So along comes Tony Robbins, and I used to watch that anytime it was on. I would watch it because of the inspirational stories and, you know, the few little messages that he had. And one time he came on, and I remember him saying, you know, one of the hardest things for people to realize is when the negative force that they're dealing with is coming directly from their own family. And that was like, boom! I was like, oh my God, this guy, like, you know, it was like almost like somebody gave me permission to, you know, to know that I wasn't crazy.
I could imagine how your family responded when they saw you watching all these commercials.
Yeah.
It's so common in our industry, and right now we have this self-development knowledge that, you know, we deal with that much faster, yes, but in the 90s or 80s, like, when was it?
That would have been in the 80s.
80s. So that was very different spin of it and very different awareness around that time. Incredible.
Yeah, so, and the interesting thing is, you know, growing up, you know, and I've got this this comic book and this cartoon that I'm rolling out for kids, and in this storyline, there's these droid monsters called the negabots, and they literally emanate negativity, you know. And, you know, God bless my parents. I mean, they've gone through their own metamorphosis. They're not the same people now that they were, you know, 25 years ago. So there's been a massive shift on the, you know, the life path. And a lot of that, I believe, was because of the personal development that I did myself. So, you know, working with Poulos, working with Dr. Barron, working with Tony Robbins, you know, I shifted the reality. I shifted the path, and they evolved to become these other people. But at the time growing up, if I had the most amazing thing that happened in my life, and I went to my parents, somehow, some way, it would be, you know, pummeled down to nothing, and I would feel like I was just a bag of dirt, you know, walking out of the room. Like, and I'd think, like, something's not right here. Like, how could that possibly be? I entered the room so excited, so fired up about something in my life, and I left, you know, thinking like, did that really happen? Like, how is that even possible? So, you know, Tony basically opened up my eyes to realize that I needed to protect my dream. And I say that to people, you know, it's not necessarily the best thing to be sharing your dream with everybody. You know, you need to protect your dream, because there will be a lot of people that will pummel your dream down and say, oh, come on, that'll never happen. You could never do that. Give me a break. Be realistic. Your dream's never going to happen. You're not going to be able to accomplish that. You know, you haven't been able to accomplish all the other ones, so why are you going to be able to accomplish this one? And people are like that because they have lost their own dream. And once they see you start to peek up your head to this other reality, they want to pull you back down. So, you know, just going through that recognition and realization that, okay, now with that newfound knowledge, I was now on a path of personal development. And I was going to do it. I was going to create my own reality and do this, and, you know, do what I wanted to do. And I started on my journey from there, you know.
Amazing, yeah. That's actually such a powerful reminder. Sometimes seems to be simple, but you just reminded me as well that you know, I fought my way very strongly in my family as well through my own journey, my own path as well. So let's take it to Dr. Puller right now. So Tony Robbins gave you the permission and gave you this awareness about protecting yourself and, you know, staying true to yourself and continuing the journey. How about
it was all about it was personal power. Mm-hmm. Tony's, when I think about Tony, it's really about personal power, and it's about understanding neuro-linguistic programming. Let me just tell you about this one story with Tony before we go on to Poulos. This is probably about maybe 6 or 7 years ago. A buddy of mine calls me up and says, Darren, you know, let's go do the fire walk. That's where you walk across, you know, 2,000-degree hot coals in bare feet. And I had already done it once, and I said, okay, sure, let's go do it. It was in Atlanta. And this was one of the largest events that Tony had done for the Firewalk. There was over 4,000 people at this particular event. Normally he does like 2,500 or so. This one was almost double the size. So, and it was in this large, you know, convention hall. Like, it was a big, you know, it looked like a concert going on in this convention hall. And I had this special notebook that I had in my hand, and I walked in the door. And I said, and I'm not, you know, like a big, you know, awe of celebrity type thing for myself, but I set a goal. I said, you know what? I walked into the door and I proclaimed that, you know what? Tony Robbins is going to sign my book, the book I was taking notes in. And, they've got, it's a huge auditorium, and the stage is surrounded by security. There's no way that you can get,
yeah.
there's no way that you can get to Tony. It's not possible. You cannot get to Tony. So over the course of the days go by, you know, day one, you know, nothing, day two, nothing, day three. And it's coming right to the very, very end, the last bit of this program. And as I'm, you know, going through closer and closer and closer, I'm getting myself whittling through the crowd, getting closer and closer to the stage. Now, I'm sort of at the front of the stage, and Tony's doing, you know, this last little thing, and so the song comes on, and everybody's linking hands. Now I move to the side of the stage where Tony is actually, I'm behind him now. So he's facing the crowd, and I'm behind him. And the security all around and whatnot, and I'm kind of seeing a possibility of like an opening, you know, where I can kind of scoot past the security, and the guys just go, whoa, don't even think about it, right? So it's like, okay, I know that Tony's going to sign my book. I know that Tony's going to sign my book. So Tony is now giving his last speech. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the most amazing, you know, this will be the last time that we're in Atlanta. And as he's doing this, I'm doing one of the strategies that we've learned. It's called mirroring and modeling. Now, you can connect with another person by doing the exact actions that they're doing without them even seeing you. So I'm behind him. He can't see me, but he's, you know, he's got his hand up. So I put my hand up, and he's doing his thing, and I'm moving my arms and doing exactly like I'm him behind him. He can't see me, though. So as he's going, you know, he says, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this was the most amazing thing, you know, I'm so glad that we had this time. Good night. He turns around, and he turns directly towards me. And I go, Tony. He grabs my book, signs it, and he's gone. The last possible moment that could have been a reality that it happened.
Such a small window, incredible. Yeah, that's powerful intentions. What does it mean for you? Like, if I can ask you, because I can give my own meaning, I would love to hear your meaning. What does it mean for you? Like, what happened, basically?
It was realizing our personal power of manifestation. I mean, you know, when I think about it right now, my hair stands up like this on the end of my
I can see that.
Because it's such an adrenaline, like it's so tapped into personal power of creating our own realities. It's everything that I teach in, you know, network marketing. It's everything that I teach to the team in Unleash the Alpha Within, is being able to tap into our personal power, create whatever reality that we want. And the way that I did it was I set an intention. My intention was Tony is going to sign this book, period. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And it was the last possible moment of him being on stage. There was no other time. But I was convinced that no matter what, he was going to sign the book. So for me, it was just a major accomplishment, not to get the guy's signature, because that's not the big deal. I just wanted to see, in a room of 4,000 people, with security around the whole stage, with no possible way to get access to him, if I could still pull it off.
Power of the mind, and proven that the technique works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to talk also about what you brought to 10-10 Formula, this incredible webinar number 4, where you share the power of visualization, the power of the vision board, and basically walking through the process of tapping into your own personal power. Would you like to expand a little bit on that? Like, why so many people neglect that, and why so few people know how to tap into that personal power?
Because most people are, you know, they're stuck in in victimhood. That's the biggest challenge, and people don't fully take control and ownership and responsibility for where they are. That's the first step. And you know, if you look at it from a philosophical standpoint, you know, this is a you know, a really interesting thing that I don't really tell this whole story, Marcin, because, you know, it's, for some people it's a little bit woo-woo, you know, but I was in a very interesting path of personal growth, manifestation, and I set a goal for myself. I set an intention that I was going to become a billionaire. And when I started working with Dr. Poulos and I learned the whole formula, at 30 years old, I proclaimed that by the time I hit 35, I would be a millionaire. But once I did it, it was like, well, that was pretty easy. Well, if I could do that, if I could do 1 million, why couldn't I do 1 billion? So I started on this path, and I went from, you know, $1 million to $4 million to $50 million, and I was literally in an altered reality. Like, my world was not like everybody else's world, I can tell you that much. You know, everything that I touched turned to gold. Every deal that I did, everybody wanted me on their deal. At the time, I was the founder of bingo.com. I was the founder of blackjack.com. I launched Able Auctions, and there was another company here locally in town that wanted me to do their marketing and ended up copying my marketing campaign called StarNet. And the only reason that I didn't do that deal is part of it was porno. So they had gambling, but they also had a porno site, and it just was against my belief, so I didn't go to take the deal. So the Vancouver Sun or Province did a feature article, and all of the companies that they showcased in this article about .coms was all about me. You know, it was Blackjack, Able, you know, the GIC Global Entertainment, which I was vice president of, and StarNet, and you know, so when you're in that type of world where you become the topic of people's lunches and dinners. So you get a call from a friend of yours, and they're like, you know, buddy, you're not even going to believe this. I was at, you know, Cactus Club the other day, and the entire topic of lunch was you. You know, the whole conversation. So, you know, or you walk into a place that you've never been before. So imagine you drive up, and I had a BMW and a custom-made Porsche and a 996 Carrera and a, you know, my Dodge Durango truck, and you drive into a place and complete total strangers that you've never seen, you've never met before, you've never even been to this location before, open up your door and say, "How you doing, Mr. Little?" It distorts your reality completely. And I entered into a reality where I was almost invincible. That's what it felt. It was like being a Hollywood celebrity, a superstar, right? You know, I'm on all these covers and magazines and papers and all sorts of stuff with feature articles, and the reality gets distorted. And I basically needed a universal wake-up call. You know, I needed to learn the universal lesson. So a lot of what I teach in Unleash the Alpha Within came from my own massive pain that I went through. I hit the wall is really what happened. The stock market crashed. I was in a really, really nasty custody case that I ended up spending $500,000 in legal fees on. And one day I found myself, like somebody stabbed me in the back. Like I'm lying in bed, and all of a sudden I was like, what the heck was that? And the next time that it happened, I'm now experiencing a supernatural experience, and I'm watching videotape flashbacks of me being killed in all of these different lifetimes, with a dagger, with a sword, with a bullhorn, all of these different things. And when you're experiencing something like that, who are you going to scream out to? You're by yourself. So who if that's something like that happened to you, that was completely supernatural experience like that, who would you be crying out to?
In my case, I'm a believer, so that's the first way I would turn. But I just want to bring it to Dr. Pulo as well. Like, what did you like in a couple of points? If you could summarize, what did you learn from that experience? You said there was this massive peak and then the valley, and you learned a lot.
Well, that's what's important to understand, Marcin. So as the download that came from Unleash the Alpha Within came from that experience, because I was basically crying out to God for help because I thought that I was dying. I didn't know what the heck was going on. And that's when the entire download of that whole process came for Unleash the Alpha Within. So you're asking where exactly did that come from? That's where it came from. And it came from being, at the top of the peak, down so far in the valley, because I went from $50 million to nothing. I mean, you want to talk about massive pain. It's one thing to, be on a path to think about money, but when you have tens of millions of dollars and then you've got nothing, you're going to go through massive personal development.
That's a loss of identity very often, yes, because we attach an identity to what we possess and lots of other things that could be potentially affected to that. That's probably the hardest thing to deal with at that time.
Absolutely.
But if you were to summarize, like from that pain, what were the good things that came out from you from that pain? Because that's something that like lots of people push it to the peak, and later to find gold and find the golden nuggets. I know that's part of the core of your course that you just mentioned, Unleash the Alpha Within. But what were your biggest takeaways from that, the good things that came
Absolutely.
to you?
Well, one of the things was to realize that we create our realities. So I had to take ownership for being the creator. Okay, I did that.
Nice.
Okay, I did that to myself to learn my lesson. So what people don't realize is when they're going through the massive pain, they need to understand that they are the creator of it so that they can have their breakthrough. That's what it's all for. So when somebody's down in the dumps, I say to them, you know what, you're on the verge of a massive breakthrough because you've got to break down to break through. That's the key. So in the process of me getting to that point, being up against the wall, you have to surrender. You have to relinquish. You have to realize that you did it to yourself, and you have to love yourself enough to forgive yourself. That's when the breakthrough happens.
Oh, cool. Love it.
That's when the breakthrough happens. So the takeaways that I got, and believe me, when you're in it and all this stuff's going on, you don't really want to look at that you created it all. Because
Sure.
It's somebody else, and point the finger, point the finger, point the finger. It's the government, it's my ex-wife, it's my parents, it's my friend that stole this money from me. Oh, it's this person, that person. You created all that to have your breakthrough. That's the key. And unless people get to that point, they remain stuck. They will remain stuck, like a gerbil in a cage, forever and ever and ever and ever, never getting through. They have to take responsibility for being the creator of it. So my great takeaways was to realize that my benefit was unleash the alpha within. That was my, there was my massive takeaway. I would never have gotten that program if I hadn't have gone through that extensive amount of pain. I would never have gotten it.
Would you say that it was one of your biggest breakthroughs?
Absolutely.
For your personal development?
Absolutely. And nice. the stuff that I talk about in Unleash the Alpha Within with, creating your vision, activating your vision, opening the vortex, going through the awakening. The awakening is when you take responsibility.
Love it.
And most people, I don't know if you've actually gone through that process yet, but most people that do go through it, they will tell you that it is an experience that is hard for them to even describe. It's an amazing thing. It's almost like you're going into another version of this reality. The sky's bluer, the grass is greener, everything is different after you go through that process.
You connect with some powerful part of yourself, as you mentioned, stepping into this powerful self. Yes, I love that. Yeah, and Darren, from here, I want to take it to another point. I had an opportunity to chat with David Sharp when he was here in Singapore, and he said something that really opened my eyes. He said, most people don't need training. More training is not the answer. The answer is making a real decision, stepping into that. And as you just mentioned, that strongly links into what you just said, of taking ownership and realizing I have created that reality. This is me. I'm responsible for where I am. How would you define making a real decision? What would that mean for you?
I hate to, for people that take this offensively, with swearing, but you have to get it. You have to get to the fuck it point in your life. You have to get it to the point where you draw a line in the sand, where you say, I will no longer stand for this reality anymore. Whoa! And that's the breaking point. That's the breaking point that totally, now everything's different. And literally it can happen, boom, like that, like a flash of light. Bam. You're done with it. You have to get so pissed off at what you've created that you will no longer stand for it anymore in your life. And that's when there's a shift that takes place. And it's instant. It's instant.
Nice. But so few people make real decisions. Like in our industry, 95% of people, they struggle and they will struggle because there is still lack of this ownership and real decision. So how do you walk somebody through that point to get them to draw the line on the sand and say enough and step into that and believe in themselves that they can deliver? Like what would you say to somebody who is at that point?
Normally, when a person is at that point, they are in a very low vibration. Okay. They're ready to break down. They're literally ready to collapse. They could be, they're holding on to so much emotion that they could literally just buckle and drop down to their knees and just start to weep. That is necessity. They honestly, if you want to break through, you've got to surrender. You've got to basically just,
love that.
You've got to just, lie down on a bed, put some meditation music on of nature, and just say, I surrender. And let the process take over from there, because it will. You'll feel the emotions start to bubble up in your chest. You'll feel it in your throat, and all of a sudden, you know, people will just break down. All these emotions, this floodgate, all the stuff that they've been storing in their body all this time just comes out like a fountain, you know, when they can finally surrender and relinquish. And that is, you know, it takes a person just to be brave, to know that they're going to be okay on the other side of that. They're going to be okay. They're going to be way better, in fact, than they were once they do that and just let go of all those emotions.
Love it. Love it. Incredible. Incredible, Darren. I just want to right now also tap into something like taking it from Tony Robbins. I mean, he encourages to model people, encourages to model beliefs. And I want to ask you, what would you consider to be the top beliefs for somebody who wants to seriously take the marketing to another level? What would be the top beliefs that you know, an incredible marketer has? Somebody who has the courage to push it forward, to push the envelope, to stretch the boundaries. What would be the beliefs that you would encourage to model?
The beliefs I would encourage to model is that there is no lack. You know, it's a holographic universe. So basically, there's enough abundance for everybody to have everything that they ever wanted in their wildest dreams. We all have the ability to create that reality. So if a person can get out of the lack mentality and put themselves into abundance thinking and realize that there are so many people out there that want what you have, and there's only one you. There's only one. You are so unique. You are so special. You have so much to offer. It's a matter of getting into the inner game and saying, what do I have that's unique and different? What can I say that's unique and different? What can I offer that's unique and different? How can I stand out that's unique and different? How can I create massive value? Massive value.
Love it. Love it. Abundance, uniqueness, and how can we create massive value? Incredible. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And let's go right now, let's explore a little bit Dr. Pulo. I mean, he has given you so much, looks like. I mean, taking this personal power, leaving the past behind, taking the ownership, that's what you received from Tony. And from Dr. Pulo, what were like your major breakthroughs that kind of brought the new reality for you and the steps?
Basically, Dr. Poulos said to me, Darren, if you were to compare your conscious mind to your subconscious mind, it's like a little tiny golf ball sitting on BC Place Stadium. That's the difference. Your subconscious mind and your programming that happened in the early stages of your life actually formats your connection to wealth and abundance. And unless you're prepared to go and do the work on your subconscious mind, you will remain stuck. Because what you think isn't necessarily what is. What you think that you think isn't necessarily what is. So he said, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine this massive stadium, and it's filled with these people, and they all have black suits on. And there's only one guy on the outside of the stadium, and he's got a white suit on. And he's got to run into the stadium and tell a couple guys, hey guys, we're supposed to be wearing white suits. And then he runs back out, and then he runs back in, and he tells a couple more guys, hey guys, we're supposed to be wearing white suits. And then he runs back out, and he runs back in. And that little guy, there's only one. And he's got to keep on running back out, running back in, running back out. If he stops running in, the black suits are going to look around and go, guys, what are you doing? We're wearing black suits. And they're going to put the black suits back on. So it's important for people to understand that the human brain, because of the human condition, is programmed to self-destruct. They have to at least own that. But once you know that, what are you going to do about it? If you know that that's the case, if you know that there's deservability and worthiness issues, that is the human condition, period. Now it becomes a journey of surrender. Now it becomes a journey of taking ownership and accepting yourself unconditionally, even though a part of you feels that you don't deserve to be successful. And that is a daily process. I accept myself unconditionally, even though a part of me feels I don't deserve to be happy. I accept myself unconditionally, even though a part of me feels I don't deserve to be wealthy. I accept myself unconditionally. You know, it's all about unconditional acceptance of ourselves. So through my work with Dr. Poulos, that visual of the little guy in the white suit running back and forth to the black suits, it's like a cartoon. I mean, I can see it. It's very visual. I can see that, and I can say, okay, what am I going to do today with my guy in the white suit? He's got to do work. That's where the personal development comes in. That's the daily personal development. He's got to run in and do some, tell those guys in the black suits, they got to change the color of their suits,
And so powerfully, you represented that through your marketing, often being painted half white, half black, representing this subconscious mind versus conscious mind. Of course, the proportion is slightly different, but you have done an amazing amount of work on yourself, and I love that. I love that metaphor. It's so simply put, and it puts this urgency into the self-development that we need to do on ourselves in order to transform that, to kind of to reverse the conditioning and change that. And if you were to design a gym, let's work with metaphors. If you were to design a gym for the white man, what exercises would you recommend him to do?
Here's a really interesting study that has been done. And this is another thing that I learned when I was working with Dr. Poulos. They did a study showing sports players, and the sports players, were practicing free throws at the, in basketball, where you're at the line and you're shooting the ball, and there was people that did 100% physical activity, physical practice. Then another group did 75 physical activity and 25% visualization. Then 50-50, 50% practice, 50% visualization. Then 25% practice, 75% visualization, and 100% visualization with no practice. So they set out on a journey, and they did this for a certain amount of time. Here is the interesting results that are quite shocking. The people that won the competition were the people that did 100% visualization and no practice.
Incredible. And I told this story to my younger brother, who is right now 14, and he loved basketball. I told him, he practiced that, and he proved me it's right, it works.
Yeah. And it's a phenomenon, because that's the power of the mind. I mean, it really shows that we're living in this illusion of this reality that we think is a certain way, but it's really in the reality of our minds. So we can create whatever realities that we want in our minds and make it real in our reality out here, if we can just get over the deservability and the worthiness. That's the challenge.
How do we go about that? What exercise would you use here?
I recommend to my leaders a movie by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Okay.
Somebody can go to darrenlittle.com/heal your life, and there's a copy of it there.
Nice.
Just to really understand that everybody is going through the same thing. Like, you're not alone. It's not like a lot of people, they feel that it's only happening to them. They're the only ones that are going through these experiences, these emotions. Everybody's going through this stuff. Everybody has had their own personal challenges. Everybody's had their breakthroughs, or they haven't because they're not willing to take ownership. That's the gateway. You've got to fully take ownership for it and forgive yourself, and then you can move forward after that.
Powerful, powerful. So we're having visualization, we're having forgiveness, and we're having healing and acceptance, worthiness, and desirability. Love that.
Yeah, and then after that, after a person does that part, then they really need to get into say, okay, what is my preferred state? What is my preferred state? And just by asking that and then writing about it. You know, like if you could have a perfect day, what would be your perfect day? My perfect day is. And start to describe it. You know, I'm in this place and it's on the water, and you know, the wind's kind of coming in, and it's got these sheer drapes and they're blowing and the sun's shining in, and I get up and, you know, I go in to have some breakfast or whatever. I go for a workout and downstairs, and they paint this picture of this euphoric reality that's perfect for them. It's almost like this perfect dream of purity where everything is just amazing. What would that be like? Most people never actually identify it. Now, if you can first of all identify it, then make it visual so that you can see what it looks like. And it's got to be three-dimensional. There's a science behind the vision boards that I talk about in my training. You can't just slap a bunch of pictures up on a piece of board. That's not the effect. It has to look like you could reach your arm right through it. There has to be a foreground, a middle, and a distance. You have to have these gateways that you can reach right through that board. Like the board doesn't exist. Like you could, you know, jump right through the board and be in that other reality. So once they make that new reality visual, the key in making it manifest is tapping into the feeling. So whatever that feeling is in the future, you've got to get there and then bring it back now into right now. And feel it in your body. Feel what it feels like in your body. And then proclaim it. So the proclamations are a very interesting thing, because a lot of people are taught about affirmations. Affirmations are positive. Proclamations are a physical experience. I'm driving an Aston Martin. It's a physical thing that you're expressing, and whoa, it's a big difference. So I say to people, you know, if your proclamations aren't loud enough that, you know, you're literally sending ripples through your house, then you need to turn up the volume, because they need to be a physical experience. And once that happens, there is a quantum boom that goes out into the quantum field, and you are now sending out a radio broadcast vibration. Everything that's in match for that starts to show up in your reality. It's a phenomenon, and that's where Dr. Dov Baron came in for me, was to realize the power of quantum physics. And if you study the wave particle theory on YouTube, type in wave particle theory, it will blow your mind. Because what affects these tiny little things from a quantum level is consciousness. They haven't made the decision as to what they're going to be, a wave or a particle, until consciousness comes along, and then, you know, they morph into whatever. So it's called formless substance. So they talk about it in The Science of Getting Rich, formless substance. What is this formless substance? We have access to this formless substance to be able to create whatever it is that we want in our realities, you know, to manifest, literally instantly manifest things. It's a phenomenon. You can manifest people to call you. You can manifest people into your reality. You can manifest events or things that go on, and they can be to the good or they can be to the bad. So there's two parallel realities that go on simultaneously, everything you want and everything that you don't want, and whichever one that you're focused on is the one that you're going to get. Whichever that focused thought is. Focused thought. Thought-directed emotion generates feeling. That's the secret. Thought-directed emotion generates feeling. It's all about the physiology. So you can steer your compass of success by going, what do I feel like? How does my body feel right now? What do I feel like in my physiology?
Powerful. I love how you brought it all together, and we have the whole journey here, because lots of people try to tap into the last bit just simply through reading The Secret and trying to fake the thoughts and feelings, and they believe that that's going to be the formula for creating their own reality. But the truth is, the whole baggage behind is still there, that is maneuvering their thoughts and feelings. It's influencing all the things constantly because it's so strongly conditioned. Love that, Darren. It's incredible material that you just created here, and I will share that with so many people because this is worth thousands and thousands of dollars, what you just shared. Would you like to also drop a couple of books maybe and a couple of references, because I'm sure there will be lots of people who will be digging deeper into what you have shared here. You will touch lots of lives through this material.
Absolutely. You know, the book that totally, you know, was the game changer for me, where not only did I start to really understand vibrational resonance, but every single emotion carries with it a frequency, just like a radio station. So, you know, I mean, if you go all the way down, as far down as you can go, would be suicide. That's as far down as you could go. And then up from that, you know, is like massive depression, and, you know, and then it gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until it gets into complete elation and euphoria, right? There's a massive spectrum there. The book that will explain it and explain how to increase your vibration is a book called Ask and It Is Given, The Art of Manifestation, that really teaches you, okay, if you are, you know, pick the emotion that you're at right now. Oh, I'm feeling, you know, depressed, or I'm feeling, you know, like a little bit excited, but I want to go to a higher level, or I'm feeling complacent. So you can, first of all, see on the chart where you are, and then you can get the assignments on what you need to do to increase it to a higher vibration. The higher that you can keep your vibration, the more you're going to be able to manifest. The challenge is that people don't understand the yin and the yang, and that can take you out of the game, because if you go too high and a straight climb, the universe has to balance itself out. So you will go into a massive crash. So the goal is to just kind of, you know, be doing this, you know, in the course of your week or your month, and not whomp, 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 whomp. Because somebody can have, you know, I've had situations where somebody has had $1,000 day, and 4 days later they say this is a bunch of BS and they're talking about quitting, and I'm like, what? Yeah. You know what I mean? How could that possibly even be? But that's the yin and the yang. You've got to understand that as to when it happens, go, oh yeah, that's just the yin and the yang. It'll bounce back up here tomorrow or the next day. Just know that. But people that don't know that, holy cow, man, they're in for a roller coaster of their life, because it's boom. Yeah, it's not a good situation. So asking it as given is the book, 100%. There's a couple. The first book that I got on was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That book is, I recommended people to read that dozens of times. You will get more every time you read that book. You could keep on reading that book and keep on reading it and get more and more and more every time you read it. There's a couple other ones. The Science of Getting Rich really explains the how we create what, through thought, and how we create these realities. And then there's another one called As a Man Thinketh that I recommend. You can get most of these books on audio as well, and some people prefer listening versus reading, but you still get the same information. And then if you're looking how to make money and keep money, then T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is a definite must. Yeah.
Cool. Darren, real gold here, real gold. For the final bonus here, I just want to ask you about the beginning of your career when you launched Pamela Anderson. Everyone is curious about it. Would you like to share a little bit what happened there and how was it to work with her?
Sure. It's interesting how people are on a certain path of consciousness or a certain belief. And I have an eye for basically spotting talent, or spotting, somebody who has the ability to become a superstar. And I used to work out at a gym called Trendsetters. And Pamela her job was, she was the towel girl. She worked in the area where there, you could get, various different sweatbands and, paraphernalia and whatnot. And she would hand out the towels to the people that were, that were going to go and, have a shower or whatever, go into the gym or whatnot. And so I came up to her and I said, she was really, really beautiful, just natural beautiful when I first met her. And I said, have you ever considered doing any modeling? Have you ever done any modeling? And she said, well, I know that it would be nice, but I'm too short. That was her original words to me, that she was too short. So at the time, I had an advertising agency. So I started to use her in as many PR campaigns as I could for brochures and, things like this, and fitness clubs and whatnot. And during the time of that process, she actually met my photographer, Dan Alisic, and they ended up getting engaged. So she was now, and Dan was one of my best friends, and he handled all of the photography for all of my projects that I was doing. And so Pamela basically decided that she had this dream that she wanted to be on the front cover of Playboy. So we started doing some test shots to, submit them into Playboy. And they decided at one point in time that they were going to use her on the cover. But previous to this, she was at a BC Lions football game, and the camera crew was going around the crowd, and boom, they focus on Pamela. And Pamela, she saw herself on camera, and she went like this, and shook her breasts. And the camera guy was thinking really fast, and he replayed it and went right. So she ended up the next day. We were in the studio, and we put her into a Labatt's blue crop top T-shirt on with blue jeans and this really fresh look. and we mocked up a poster for Labatt's, and we ended up taking it into Labatt's, and the first time they actually turned it down. Dan went in and they turned down the poster, and I was so convinced. This is a lot about back to creating your own reality. I was so convinced that they were going to run this campaign and I wasn't going to accept anything else, that I booked an appointment with the vice president of marketing and went in there and pitched him again on why they needed this poster, why it was going to be the poster that was going to be around. Simultaneously, I cut a deal with a poster distribution company to get the poster distributed into poster shops. It had never been done before, where a beer company was selling the poster where people were buying it. You know what I mean? Like buying it in a poster shop with Labatt's brewing on it. So they ended up running with the deal, and not only was the campaign a great success, but from that they put her into the commercials. So now she was, and it was at the very tail end of the campaign. So they put her into the commercials, and then from there she got a call back for getting on the front cover of Playboy, and from there they decided that they wanted to use her as a centerfold, and it was like literally about maybe a month and a half away from Dan and her getting married. I mean, they already had their invitation sent out, everything. I mean, it was like they're getting married. And I think what happened was that Hugh Hefner basically said, look, here's the deal. You can either be a superstar and go down this path as Miss Pamela Anderson, or you can have one shot, do your little centerfold as Mrs. Pamela Alisic. What do you want to do? So she basically called Dan and called off the wedding. And wow. It was devastation, man. Like, I mean, the guy literally, he lost like 25 pounds. I mean, can you imagine you've got invitations and everything sent out for your marriage, and your fiance calls you and says the wedding's off. We're not getting married.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, so she went off and she hooked up with Scott Baio from Happy Days, and then multiple other relationships, and ended up marrying that rock star guy. I can't remember his name.
I don't remember as well. My wife would know. Yeah.
Tommy Lee.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And how was it to work with her? How was she like?
She was just a real down-to-earth. Obviously Hollywood does things to change people. She's not the same person obviously now
Sure.
than the girl that that we met in the early days. She was, just like the regular girl next door. Very down-to-earth, very wholesome, and the world was her oyster type thing. And we just happened to open up the gateway for her to, go to another level of her career.
Cool. Darren, thank you very much. It's nearly 3:30 in the morning here for me, but I love that time. We created some incredible material here, and I want to encourage everyone, just go to darrenlittle.com and just search for more information about Darren. As you can see, it's a guy who gives so much incredible golden nuggets. And again, big thank you. I would love to give you a hug here, and looking forward to seeing you at one of the events. Have a great day.
Absolutely, Marcin. Okay, dude, take care.
Thank you.